there have been a couple of comments, and I'm just going to address them specifically. A couple of comments that sort of intimated that there's required information, required knowledge, required resources, however you want to define it, before you allow the students to actually to proceed with the actual PBL approach. Can you just refer to that as such?
Yeah, that pre-existing knowledge. Well, the problem is they must have this knowledge to get going. You know, I have to teach them this knowledge so they get going.
It's the back to
Wrong.
basics idea. You
Sorry?
know, it's the back to basics idea. They've got to have the basics before you can get going.
Yeah, and the more you give them the basics, the quicker they'll lose it.
Yeah.
Because when we give those basics and we think we transfer the knowledge, we give them the knowledge, all we're doing is we're throwing something that we're forcing them to put in long-term memory immediately. We test very short term to see if it's there, but I mean, gazillion pieces of research have demonstrated that if you check for anything in memory that's been memorized in school, 6 months later, a year later, it's gone, right? And it's gone for the very simple reason that there is no connections that have been made to the pre-existing structure that was there. So there's nothing to hold, if you want, that those pieces of memory in place. They leave immediately because they've got nothing to tie themselves to. What is important, okay, is that if those pieces of knowledge are so important they must be learned, then let's break down the large problem-based learning approach into smaller little bitty pieces of problem-based learning or project-based learning, and let them construct each of those pre-existing knowledge pieces that are so crucial to them doing it, all right, and let them build on those. Or create the situation whereby you are creating a problem or a project that is going to definitely require those pieces of knowledge, but don't give it to them. Let them construct it. Let them go fish for it. If they go fish for it, they will be doing it on their terms, the way they understand it. And the connections they will make will be far more sustainable ones, far more permanent ones. If you force those connections by saying, here, you're going to need this, use it, it's gone. 6 months later, they remember nothing.
Yeah, the corollary to that is though those connections are going to be totally idiosyncratic, that is specific to the individuals. I mean, there might be some where there are similarities in terms of past experiences, etc. There may be similar kinds of connections, but even that is not assured because people are going to construct these ideas themselves.
Exactly. They'll be individual and they will fit the cognitive structure of each individual learner, which are all different. Oh, and guess what? We're talking about, individualized learning and all these fancy new terms. All that we're saying is here is forget all these strategies to try to individualize everything and try to pre-can everything. Let them construct them on their own. Support them, make them move ahead, and give them targets that are reachable if you want, or give them situation in terms of problems that are not necessarily solvable, but keep them within Vygotsky's zone of proximal development, all right? But push them. Otherwise, they're not going to construct anything, and if you give them everything, it's just going to be just layered on top, and like a deck of cards, and eventually it's just going to fall over, and they're going to lose everything. Or worse, they're going to have all these pieces not connected to each other, and they will mix them up. And then when they have to call upon this, they don't think they've got the answer, but they're going to come up with something that's totally mixed up. It is
By
not
the way,
constructive.
students who don't have background in psychology, you'll get a little bit of a taste of the epistemology ideas of Piaget, Vygotsky that have been referenced here already. That's coming up next week in sessions 3 and 4. So be prepared; they are coming. Can we?
Sorry to bring those guys up.
It's quite all right. I mean, it works quite nicely because this, of course, this video clip will be aired next week as well. So it fits right in there. It's a nice bridge. Can we talk very briefly about how would you define role in the problem definition equation that we've given to them? What I dealt with in previous video clips is the traditional scenario that we've talked about in terms of moving from Pearson International Airport. You're riding in a taxi as a passenger, or you're the taxi driver. So that's the way that I've distinguished role in a couple of scenarios. Gareth talked in one of the tutorials about the role of a student as compared to the role of the TA. and that's how we distinguish between the role. How would you distinguish the role of um, the role variable within that equation?
Okay, well, I'll just backtrack a little bit in a sense that the equation itself, I mean, it came about. If you look at any definition of problem on the internet, Wikipedia it or whatever, and you'll find that problem in most dictionaries and places like this define it as a gap between a desired situation and something else. Okay, in other words, something requiring a change. And they will define problem as also that the solutions are never found within the problem statement in a sense, as opposed to a mathematics problem, which is something different. We added to that as we were working on the problem formula, because I had this idea of I wanted to be able to define problem in a very formal sense and actually almost create an ontology of problem. And that formula that you've probably shown them is a result of that attempt at creating an ontology. And so we said, well, for that gap that may exist between problem and, between the current situation and a desired situation, there's an inverse relationship with, well, what do you have in terms of resources to be able to bridge that gap? And resources, when we're talking in cognitive terms, they're, what knowledge do you possess that you can use, and what other physical or other resources that you might have that would help you solve that problem. So in a sense that the greater the amount of knowledge and resources you have, the lesser the problem, but the greater the distance between the desired and current situation, the greater the problem, which is why you've got that inverse relationship. And then the thinking came about, yes, but that's fine. But there's also a notion of perspective. And that's why sort of like I ended up putting the whole thing in brackets and adding that arb there was to say that perspective can change with the role of the person that is faced with the problem. And an example of this is you look at a problem of a chemicals problem, a chemical spill. Okay, there's a train boom crash, big chemical spill. The spill itself presents all kinds of problems, and these problems will all be defined differently depending on who is looking at them. You've got this big train spill. The city planner or the mayor will look at this and he'll see on one hand health issues, health potential problems, because he has no idea what that green liquid is. He'll also see the situation as impacting traffic, because it happened on a bridge of a very busy intersection. And it could stall the whole city, even outside the immediate range of the chemical reaction kind of thing. You'll have the chemical engineers that'll be coming in, and the fire truck people, and the police, and everybody will come at and look at the same train wreck, and they will see a different set of problems. The different set of problems means that because of what they are used to looking at and the kind of analysis they're used to looking at, they will see the train wreck and they will see certain aspects of it as being very important, and other aspects, not that they will see them necessarily as less important, but since they have less knowledge about it, they will not be able to even establish that delta between current situation and desired situation. Okay. The policeman that handles the traffic will see current situation, traffic blocked, desired situation, traffic must flow. The chemist will see, chemical needs to be collected. The environmentalist will see chemical needs to be collected and environment protected. I mean, everybody will come at it, and that's what that R basically is what is the role, that will then establish what is the perspective of the person analyzing the problem. What set of eyes are they coming at it? With? And this means that what is the knowledge that they come at it with? It will affect the knowledge they have. It'll affect the resources they can call upon. It'll affect what they actually see, which are the parts of the problem that they, in their analysis, are very important, which are less, and what is the short-term, medium-term, long-term desired situation in order to solve the problem. So when I speak about role and how do I define the role, is what is the professional quote unquote role of the person, the individual coming up to the problem, and therefore what is their perspective, and therefore also from that, what is their background, what knowledge do they possess, what resources can they call on, and so on and so forth. So that role is sort of like a big R to encompass all of those elements of the individual, and it's to create the notion, or to illustrate the notion, that whatever problem is, it is entirely constructed. It's a construct of the individual that is actually looking upon it. And because it is a construct of the individual that's looking upon it, therefore that construct and all the contained elements, that's why they're all in brackets, will be dependent on what that individual brings to that to the problem itself.
Okay. I hope that that's helped any of you who are still questioning as to what the R, or the role value, was for the variable was in the problem itself. I think we've about run out of time, so there are some questions about collaboration and cooperation that will come up again next week. So I think we'll wait for them for next week and see what else people come up with. Again, I hope that this this video clip is worthwhile from the perspective of giving you an avenue of feedback from not only me, but also from Francois. And I'd like to thank you at this point, Francois, for giving up your time and energy to have a discussion with me about some of these questions that have occurred to the students.
Absolute pleasure, anytime.
Great. I'm going to sign off now.